How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Big Day Dave, and this is another Farm Sim Talk, a show where we get to interview various creators throughout the farming sim community. And tonight, I am joined here by fellow content creator here on YouTube, Krustoo. Krustoo, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing awesome. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. And before we get going, I want to give a few shout outs of people that I see already here in the chat. I want to go ahead and start out by saying hello to Ken, Dust Bunny, we got Nacho Cast, John C. Pepper. Thank you all so very, very much for coming out here tonight and hanging out with us for this interview. Now, let's go ahead and get this started with some introductions. So, first things first, where can people find you?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. I have no idea where I am. I'm Krustoo on YouTube. Pretty straightforward. That's my main channel, my main activity right now is farm sim content. So we'll start with that for now.
Alrighty. And do you want to give any shout outs before we get going?
I always got to give a shout out to Dust Bunny. She's so helpful and so inspiring. Thanks, Dust Bunny, for getting me involved in this.
Yeah, Dust Bunny is absolutely amazing. Big shout out goes out to her. She's just been an absolute rock star when it comes to, making suggestions and, lining people up. Greatly appreciate everything that she's done, not only for this channel, but for everything that's been going on with this whole series. So Dust Bunny, thank you very, very much. So let's go ahead and get this party started. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our first segment. Our first segment is called Digging Up Dirt. This is a section where we just go ahead and kind of get to know you for who you are. So my first question for you is, do you have a job that's outside of the whole content creation sphere, or are you a full-time YouTuber?
I am fully employed right now outside. I'm another IT guy. You seem to have a lot of those IT type people.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I manage IT teams, server and cloud systems in the healthcare vertical.
I gotcha. I do something, I won't say similar, but definitely within the kind of behind the scenes data analysis portion of IT. So yeah, I'm understanding of what you're doing there. So let's start out with some of your hobbies. What do you do outside of creating farm sim content? Do you hunt, fish?
No, I don't do that so much. I do. We have a little homestead here, so I do a lot of caring for animals, chickens and cats and dogs and that kind of thing. And that's kind of my main thing that I'm busy with at home. Outside of that, though, I do. I haven't done so much in the last year because I have an injury, but I'm a backcountry camper, so I do a lot of canoe camping. And I head up north, mostly northern, I would say northern Ontario. And we just get lost. I get a couple of buddies and we just take off into the wild and just find our way through nature. And it's pretty awesome. I love it. Couldn't do much last year though. I got a knee problem and waiting on some surgery for that. So hopefully that'll get resolved.
Well, here's hoping. Yeah, that.
And I watch the Habs a lot. Montreal Canadiens, like the greatest team ever, kind of thing. So I do quite a bit of that.
So, for everybody's out there knows that I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan, and when I approached Krustoo about doing this interview, one of the things that came out very early on from our talks was that he was a Canadiens fan, and I almost canceled the interview right then and there. It takes a certain level of strength to kind of muster ourselves back up and say, okay, I'll have a Habs fan on.
Just one though, right?
Just one, just one. You can't.
Just,
You
just
can
the one.
never get more than one Habs fan in the same room, or else it's just pandemonium.
Yeah, it gets out of hand real quick. Yeah, I get it.
So you're a hockey fan. You've been following them for long, or
Yeah, all my life. I mean, I was a hockey guy. I played a lot of hockey when I was young. Some pretty competitive levels. I gave up. Not so proud of it, but I was a very consistent, strong hockey player until I decided I want to be a rock star. And I took up instruments and that I'll call it that lifestyle a little bit, and that derailed my hockey focus. But I played a lot of hockey. I mean, I lived at the rink. It was a great time, absolutely great time in Quebec. I grew up the first part of my life in Quebec.
so were you at all a Nordiques fan at one point, or were you always a Habs fan?
Always Habs, always
Always Habs.
Habs.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So is it the just kind of the lineage and that they have, or kind of drew you to them, or was there a specific event where you're like, you know what, this is the team I want to follow?
It's my home team, right? So um, I grew up with it. Um, it was, I want to say I was kind of meshed in a little bit with I don't know. I want to say the players, but I was a golf caddy when I was young to make a few bucks, and so I used to caddy for Habs players, and had neighbors that were Habs, and I don't know if you remember Pete Mahovlich.
Oh yeah.
We used to every day. I would go to his house and ask for an autograph every day, over and over again, and it was just one of those things. It's just so ingrained. I'm in Ontario now, and I should be, switching my allegiance, but no way. It just doesn't work that way.
No, not at all. I've lived in Florida for since it was almost 20 years now. It'll be since 2006, and I should either be a Panthers fan or a Lightning fan according to all the locals, and I tell them absolutely not. I'm a Wings fan until the day I die. Be lucky if they don't bury me with the jerseys and all that stuff. I mean, you might be able to see. I don't know if it comes out too well in the camera, but
I see all the pictures back there.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I'll spare you the one that's on the opposite side of the wall with Patrick Waugh. We'll go from there. uh, but so were you like frequent at the rink? Like, did you go to like a whole bunch of games or?
Yeah, I was fortunate, between family, and when my first job, my first real, I want to call it career job. I had a lot of small jobs when I was young, but my first IT career job, I worked for a company that had some fantastic tickets in the old Montreal Forum, and we had the guy who was in charge of finance would come around and, what are you doing tonight? What are you doing tonight? And we're going to the game. And then he'd take us there, and we'd eat in a fancy restaurant, and with all the elites, I guess, and watch the games. And he liked me a lot, so I got to go a lot and spent a lot of time in the Montreal Forum watching the Habs, and it was a great time.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you played. What position?
Defense.
Defense. Okay.
Defense. I'm a big boy. I'm 6'4", and I don't want to say how much I weigh, but I was pretty imposing dude. So I was always on defense, and I think one of the reasons I kind of quit was because I was that big guy. I was expected to be the goon, and I didn't have that in me. That wasn't me. Stood up when I needed to, but it wasn't the tone I wanted to set. So I I think I started to lose interest.
Well, yeah, and especially back in those days, I mean, yeah, if you were built a certain way, a certain height, whatever the case may be, yeah, you were expected to impose your will, and you
Yeah,
would be put into many a hairy situations.
yeah,
Thankfully, I wasn't too involved in that when I played. I was a goaltender, so wasn't very often that those kind of
yeah,
opportunities came up. But I certainly did
yeah,
have certainly did have players that were built in that same mold. So they would share that as well, to where they were like, I really don't want to do this, but it's one of those that you have to step up to it, kind of thing.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. There was a culture a little bit, where it got the coaching staffs were really focused on get out there and kill them kind of mentality, and I want to play hockey. I didn't really want to go out killing people. I was too soft that way, I guess. But when I had to stand up, I did. It wasn't my favorite part.
yeah, yep.
Yeah,
Oh, and there's certainly players that would fit that mold amazingly, and they did a great job. I can think of like Stu Grimson and oh goodness, what Joey Kosher and so many players that would happily step up into that role. Well, I can't say happily, but at least they did that role very well.
yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely a tough role to fill. Definitely a tough one. So do you?
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, you have to do that role and be a good player. It's a lot.
Well, and just being in sports in general, you're gonna have like the all the physicality that happens just by its very nature is
Dale
going to
Rogers
happen.
has become a
And
member.
then to throw in on top of that, to then have to put your body through the extras of enforcement is that's the next level kind of thing. Is you got to not only withstand the rough and rigors of being on the ice, but then also the expectations on top of that to impose your will. It gets rough. It gets to be a bit much.
Yeah.
So do you read books, watch movies, listen to music?
I used to read a lot when I was younger. My vision's a little messed up now, so I struggle with reading. Um, I I watch a bit of TV. My wife and I have a dinner ritual. We don't actually sit at a table to eat dinner. We sit and watch our binge sessions. Beyond that, um, well, I mean, I do love music, so I spend a lot of time listening to music. Um, like I said, I wanted to be a rock star when I was young, so I do know how to play. Well, I used to know how to play, or I'm way out of practice, but yeah. So I have an appreciation for several different types of music that I tend to gravitate to.
I gotcha. And what would you consider to be your favorite book?
My favorite book has to be Lord of the Rings. I
Oh,
read that book so many times when I was young. I had one of the originals, the full, the three books in one, and just love that book. I could right now if I could read, I'd read it again. I just love that story so much.
oh, it's a great story, and it's got massive amounts of symbolism behind it, and uh, yeah, it's a fantastic read. Highly recommend. If like for those who have just seen the movies, read the
Uh,
books. Read the
yeah,
books. Like the movies were good. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not
yeah,
downgrading them at all. The books, just like most people will tell you, are 100% better, like 100 times better, because you can always kind of make things up in your mind, and there's always that details and information that aren't in the movies that
yeah.
they just can't do it. So yeah, I agree with you. That's a great book. Great series of books. What about movies or TV shows? What would you consider to be your favorites?
I like from a TV show perspective, I kind of like Modern Family style, series and stuff like that. Mostly like comedy, with a bit of drama. It's typically what I would watch in a TV show. Um, yeah, as far as movies are concerned, I mean, I got a long list of movies. Sorry, I have a little cough there, so that's going to come up every now and then.
Oh, no
Um,
worries.
yeah, I'm a big fan of either. I want to say the types of movies that really make your brain twist inside out, um,
Hmm.
and either that or stupid comedy, like Dumb and Dumber and Spaceballs and that
Oh,
whole kind of thing. Um,
those
yeah,
are a
so I
couple classics right there.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah
Yogurt. I hate yogurt, even with strawberries. Rick Moranis
yeah.
did such an amazing job in that movie.
That movie was very well cast. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were wanting to be, the rock star and whatnot, or you were wanting to be the musician. What kind of music did you kind of focus on? What was your kind of main uh, genre?
Well, at the time, because I'm not a young I'm not a young pup, but I kind of grew up with my initial attraction to music was in the I want to say late '70s, early '80s kind of thing, and it was mostly a lot of the progressive kind of progressive rock. Yes, Rush, Pink Floyd's, all of that type of music, and that's what I kind of dipped into when I started playing. Was that style and genre.
And which instrument did you play?
Uh, back then, back then I played mostly bass. Um, since as time went on, I picked up guitar. So I still have some instruments. I still have I have a Les Paul, a Gibson Les Paul, and a 5-string Yamaha bass. Um, don't play them much. They're there. They're collecting dust, which is kind of sad, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get back to it someday. I don't.
Well,
I don't have the dexterity I used to have with my fingers.
oh yeah, it's incredible and just how much the strength and dexterity you need in your hands and in your fingers, and the as we age, it does become harder and harder. Like I look at some of the older rock stars and musicians that are out there, and to see them still going strong, it's incredible. Because like I said, you need to have that dexterity and be able to still go out and play shows and do all that stuff. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
when I was young, that my bass was in my hands all the time. Like I was just, if I wasn't going to the bathroom, I had it in my hands, and occasionally there may have been once or twice where I had still had it in my hands when I was going to the washroom. Um, but I used to sit, and play, focused. But I also be watching TV, and every little piece of music, jingle from a commercial or whatever would come along, and I try to pick it up, and I just I loved it. I ate it up. Um, yeah, it's really really cool memories.
So, what would you say would be some of the oddest or weirdest uh, books, movies, music that you've listened to or seen or read over the years?
Um, music. I used to listen to a band called Return to Forever. Very, I want to say jazz fusion kind of stuff, really weird stuff. And King Crimson, which is also a little off the rails at times. Um, as far as movies, the ones that come to mind are movies like I don't know if you remember a movie called Vanilla Sky. It was Tom Cruise, and it just messed with your head. Like it was just really weird. Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis.
Yes. Great movie.
Clockwork Orange,
Hmm.
Stanley Kubrick, that kind of stuff would, I don't know, I just really liked it. I liked it when my brain hurt.
Kind of reminds me of in the last interview, I think it was the last interview, where we were talking about the movie The Game.
Hmm.
Have you ever seen
I
that
don't
one?
think I don't think I've seen that one. No.
That one's a really good one. Really blurs the line between the whole reality versus fantasy kind of thing. It's
Hmm.
with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn were like the two big actors in it that I can think off the top of my head. Yeah, very very good movie. Highly recommend it.
Hmm.
Certainly wouldn't call it a weird one, but it's definitely one of those kind of like psychological, like kind of thriller
Yeah,
movies.
yeah. A lot of the Brad Pitt stuff I liked. Um, Stuff like 12 Monkeys. I love that
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Great movie.
Um, yeah.
Him and
Just
Bruce Willis was in that, wasn't
Bruce Willis. Yeah,
he? Mm-hmm.
Bruce Willis was in
Mm-hmm.
there as well. Yep. And I was a big fan of Kevin Spacey movies, even though, won't get into that too much, but
Yeah, yeah,
some of his movies were pretty good.
yeah.
Oh,
He was definitely a good actor, but not a good human.
no, no.
But what about books? What's some of the oddest or weirdest books that you've read?
Um, to be honest, I don't think I ever really dipped into strange books. Um, I think one of the ones I tried to read that hurt so much I stopped was a book called Foucault's Pendulum, I think it was called, by Umberto Eco, and it was hard to read. Like you really had to every sentence you had to like reread it, um, and it was a um, very recognized book at the time. You know, it had high ratings. So I said, well, I guess I got to read that, but I just couldn't do it. It was just, I don't know, it was difficult to read. The words didn't line up with the way my brain works. Yeah.
So you'd mentioned earlier that you were doing homesteading and that you're raising animals and stuff.
Yep.
Do you do any other particular things with the homesteading? Do you like create your own goods, or do you do any kind of like small farming, like garden bedding and stuff like that? Or
Yeah, my wife is kind of the driving force behind some of that. But we do gardens. She does a lot of preserving stuff. So we have jars and jars and jars of you wouldn't believe how many jars we have in the house right now. If we got snowed in for 6 months, we would survive no problem. We got so much food. Um, so it's mostly on the kind of the gardens, vegetable stuff that we focus. Um, we do have like I think I mentioned it off camera before we started that my neighbor is a pig and beef farmer.
mm-hmm.
So we buy bulk from him, and we do a lot of preserving of that stuff. Um, I've got my little tractor. I got a little Massey, and I just like getting out there and taking care of the property itself. And yeah, that's mostly it. I mean, we've got the chickens. We did some breeding last year, so we have two breeds, Sassos, which is a French breed, I think, and Canadian Bresse, which is also of French descent. They're a really high quality meat bird. They're dual purpose, so that they will lay as well, but they have a meat that's marbled, much like you would a Wagyu beef.
Okay.
So it's like chicken that's marbled, so the meat is very tender.
Ooh.
So last year we tried breeding with some success. We've been overrun with roosters a lot. We haven't been lucky with the draw, so we get more roosters than we do hens. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I do the chicken care. I do the outside. Let's just say I do the outside work. She does the inside work mostly.
It's
But
sounds
yeah,
familiar.
we're debating buying a freeze dryer right now. Um,
Oh,
they're not cheap.
no, they're not, but they are super, super nice to have.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been talking about it for a while. We're trying to figure out the priorities.
Hmm.
Can't afford everything we want.
Well, I think my wife, she's been wanting one of those things for a long time, and like you said, they're pretty expensive. And I think the cheapest I've seen for like personal use is somewhere
Mhm.
in like what, like $1,000 to $2,000 range, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, the
Like,
smallest ones. Yeah, smallest ones will come in probably around two.
yeah.
Well, U.S. Yeah, I'm not sure about U.S. dollars, but for us, but 2,500 for the smallest one Canadian for the quality brand. I'm sure there's some cheesy brands you can get somewhere, but
Hmm. Well,
so
and I mean, it would make complete sense for you all. I mean, you said that you had like the stores of food and whatnot. That would just, take it up to the next level kind of thing. So now, do
yeah.
you, around your area there, do you go and, like look for wild berries or anything like that for your homesteading?
We do a little bit. We try to tap a couple of the local maples. Try to make some maple syrup, but there's not nearly enough maple trees to where we are. We're in the middle of farmlands. Like it's all fields mostly. There's just little outcrops of trees around. But we do. We have a neighbor that's got apple trees on his property, so we go out there and we pick a bunch of apples and we process all that down into various things, mostly dehydrate.
Hmm.
Getting back to that canoe camping stuff, we dehydrate all my food that I might bring to the backcountry with me, and of course the freeze dryer would take that up a level quite nicely. But we'll see. We'll see if we can afford it one day.
So here recently, I was on vacation up in Michigan, and it was up in the Upper Peninsula, and we just so happened to stop by a little like thrift market kind of thing. And
Hmm.
as I'm wandering through, I realized that there are these bags, and inside these bags are freeze dried candies.
Yeah,
And I saw that, and it was like freeze dried Skittles and freeze dried Starbursts. And I'm like, those might actually be pretty decent. So I
they are.
actually grabbed a bag of the freeze dried Skittles and tried one of them. Wow. Like
Yeah,
next level. They just intensified all the flavors that were there.
yeah.
Probably so bad for you, but at that point
Wow.
I didn't care.
Yeah, my wife does markets, so she does a lot of crafts, and she goes every weekend. She goes up, sets up her stand at the local markets, like farmer markets kind of thing. And every time she's out there, there's somebody that's there that's selling the freeze dried candy. Um, it's a very popular thing.
Mm-hmm. It just I'd never heard of anything like that before. Just like freeze dried candies, and I just saw them. They're like just a normal Skittle, but they're like bursting out from their outer shell kind of thing. And it's like, wow, that looks weird. And then you read the bag, and it's freeze dried Skittle. Like, okay, now you got me interested. So, what would you consider doing if content creation was no longer an option for you?
Oh, I'd probably just play video games.
Okay. And outside of
Um,
Farm Sim, do you play any other kind of games or?
I do. I dabble a lot. Farm sim does take up a lot of my free time, um, and I'm happy about that. Um, but I do dabble in a lot in a lot of different things. I go on, I used to have a rotation kind of thing where I'd play one game for a while till I got tired with it, and then I'd get off and I'd play this for a while and then come around. But every now and then, every year, I'll put in a few months on something like World of Warcraft or MMOs, online stuff, and then I'll play a variety of other things. I do spend some time playing action stuff. I don't do a lot of shooter type first person shooter. I'm just not quick enough for that. I just tend to die a lot. So mostly simulation. Some games where I can play at my own speed mostly. And yeah, it's all kinds. I try a lot of stuff. I buy a lot of stuff on Steam that I never get around to playing because, oh, this looks good. I better buy this. And then I just never get around to it. So I've got a big Steam library. Probably about a quarter of it sees any action most of the time. But
Now, would you consider, because of your homesteading lifestyle and whatnot, do you think that was kind of an easy transition to pick up a farming simulator?
I think so. There's a natural attraction to that self sustainability concept. I did, one of the other things that I got interested in was survival games, where you had to go and forage all your stuff and, to survive kind of thing. And then I got into the kind of city builder model and slowly transitioned into another farm game that wasn't Farming Simulator. And then found Farming Simulator, and the rest is history. I've been playing. I play Farming Simulator by far more than anything else I've played in the last 10 years easily. It's not even close, and it's embarrassing how many hours my Steam tells me I've spent in it.
So, one kind of running theme that I've heard from other content creators, and this is kind of true with myself as well, is that because of the whole content creation aspect that we do, you don't really tend to get a lot of time to actually, quote unquote, play the game. Would you say that you kind of fall into that same realm, or do you actually make some time to actually just kind of do your own thing?
I try to run off-camera series for myself. What ends up happening is, I want priority on the channel because I really enjoy not just playing the game, but also the YouTube part of it and, the community part of it and all that, the whole picture. I really enjoy that. So that, and in my mind, that's the priority. But that said, what ends up happening with me a lot with Farm Sim is, and when I'm running series, is I get really into it. And it might not show on camera, during the recording, but off camera, I have to stop myself from playing it. Because I get so deep into it, I get into a groove, I see things start develop, that I just want to keep going. And it's hard to do when you're trying to record, right? You got to stop yourself because next thing you know, and it's happened multiple times where, record an episode and then I'm just sitting there and I'm playing and I'm playing and playing. And all of a sudden I realize, oh crap, none of this got recorded. So then I try to run another, off camera kind of game save, and I don't get into it as much. I almost have this feeling of like, if it's bad, I don't want to do it. Like if it's not, I'm not enjoying this map or whatever, I don't want to do it. But if it's starting to look good, it's like, oh, I should have been recording this, like I'm getting into this. So like, I don't know, I feel almost guilty. I'm getting to this thing where I almost feel guilty that that I'm getting enjoying this off-camera stuff and not sharing it with you guys, you know. So it's kind of weird. It's a weird feeling, but I almost don't play much off camera. Um, so, but I try. If I play something off camera, it'll typically be something else, like a different genre.
I completely understand. As a matter of fact, I literally just started playing something just for myself. Uh, Here yesterday, I started doing it. It was the new Star Wars Survivor, I think is what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good game so far. Highly recommend it. But but yeah, no, I fall in the same exact category. Is that I'm so focused on developing the content and doing stuff for the channel that I don't get that opportunity to play. It's very few and far between nowadays.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before how you are working full time and you're kind of doing this as kind of a side gig. Um, would you would you want this to be something that grew and became your full-time job, like as a replacement to your job, or is this something that you're just wanting to see where it goes kind of thing?
I really enjoy this. You know, I would like to. I'd like the concept of retiring and having this pay a few bills. You know, um, I don't see myself ever becoming a huge YouTuber or anything like that. Enough that to say, I have a full time salary. Sorry, um, but if it helps, when I get to retirement, if it helps with paying a few of the bills, I will do it. When I do retire, I will have more time and I'll spend more, probably on a second channel or something.
I gotcha.
So yeah.
So, like I said, as we previously mentioned, you do this. You do work full time. What kind of home dynamic do you have going on?
Just my wife and I. We live in the middle of nowhere. We don't get out much. We're homebodies, and I get up, uh, do YouTube things or whatever in the morning till work starts, and I work from home full time. So I get into work mode till the end of the day, and then I'm back into other things. Sorry, I'm really struggling.
Oh, no
Yeah.
worries, no worries. So you got the full time job, you got the homestead going, and you're responsible for kind of the outdoors portion of the homestead. Um, you got your wife. How do you find the balance between the kind of work life, the home life, the YouTube life, the homestead life? Like, how do you come up with the right combination?
Um, well, it took me a while with the YouTube stuff to figure out how to do it with limited time. Um, the truth is, the model that I use for how I record and produce videos and such is I barely do any editing at all. Like it's almost like a live, but I do a little edits. So I have an episode every day. Most of the time, I had to take a break in the fall, um, but I have an episode every day. But it doesn't take me long to put it together. Uh, my my work experience has kind of taught me how to do things good enough fast. You know. So I don't have the fanciest videos. So there's some people out there that are producing some super high quality videos. I can't do it. I couldn't do it just for time purposes. There's no way. So I just try to streamline the workflow of the way that I do it so that's really fast. And that's my ticket for now. That's how things are going. Once I get to a retirement point, then that'll be different. Then I'm going to kick it up a notch or two. And we'll see how that goes. Because I do enjoy the editing and the producing and the managing and all that, but I just can't right now. There are other priorities first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and especially considering that it's more of the side job that you're enjoying to do, there's other things obviously like you said that take priority. So, I mean, I understand that completely, being that I'm a husband, a father, I work full time. It's one of those I would love to be able to dedicate more time to the channel, as it sounds like you would too, but life happens, so gotta take one step at a time. But it's nice to hear that once a retirement kicks in, that you'll kind of readjust, kind of thing. So
Yeah. Oh yeah,
be
for sure.
be on the lookout, everybody, for more content downstream.
Yeah, I would love to do it full time. Well, probably not full time, but when I get there, I will definitely kick it up a notch.
Awesome. So what would you say inspires you or motivates you?
In general,
Yeah, just in general.
um, um, I think I have a. I don't know. I'm thinking of a weird way to answer that question. I have I'll call it a snowball mentality, meaning when I start into something, I'm usually not very inspired. Um, but as things develop, the inspiration grows. It's like a kind of a snowball effect. So if I do something lightly, it's likely to be whatever. But once I really start digging into something, it all of a sudden it's a creative thing. And oh man, I'm so sorry about all the coughing. But I don't know. It's just I want to call it almost addictive behavior. Sometimes I get into stuff so deep that all of a sudden the inspiration just flows like crazy. But I don't know. I mean, other people, if we talk about content creation, watching other people definitely inspires me. The whole reason I got into this is watching other people do it, and um, I don't know. I don't know. It's a hard question. It's a simple question, but it's a hard one to answer a bit.
So what would you say one thing is about you that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
How handsome I am on camera? No, no, that's not it. That's not it. Um,
That sounds like an answer I would give.
yeah, I'm a very quiet person. Watching my YouTube channel, I'm just blabbering all the time. I'm not like that off camera. I'm extremely quiet person. Um, I'm just I don't like talking that much until it's time. I guess in my meetings at work, I'll get into it, but as soon as the meeting's over, I want peace and quiet. I'm very, very peace and quiet kind of guy.
I completely understand. I'm extremely similar in that fashion. If I'm out and about with friends or whatnot, if it's like one or two people, I'm fine. I can sit there and hold a conversation, whatnot. Once you get me into a group, I'm done. I'm just listening and paying attention to kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I'll even, kind of scurry off into a corner somewhere and just kind of like, okay, I need a break, need, a few seconds to
Yeah.
regather
Oh yeah.
myself. And so, yeah, trust me, I completely understand. If I were to answer that question, it'd be almost identical. Um,
Yeah.
People would think that by consuming our content that we're just chatterboxes and, we can, almost life of the party kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm very introverted. I struggle a lot with busy environments. Lots of people talking. That's one way to shut me up completely. I just lock down. I'm I can't handle crowds very well. The only time I can handle crowds is if I'm going to a hockey game or a concert.
Yep.
Outside of that, the prize is worth it, but outside of that, no, we're homebodies. My wife is like that as well. We love our peace and quiet out here. It's deadly quiet, all
Oh,
the time, and we just love it out here.
well, call me jealous, because yeah, if I had my ways about things, I'd be out in the middle of nowhere just like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, what would you say is one of your biggest fears?
Biggest fears. Um, oh boy. Um, I don't know. That's a hard one to answer. I think losing one of the senses would probably be uh, a problem. If I lost my sight, that's it for video games. If I lost my hearing, there goes the music. I think losing the ability to do, you know, to process the world properly would be probably my biggest fear.
Okay. Well, I don't even think I ever thought about it like that, but yeah, no, that's. I think you just created a new fear for me.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that gets me going or whatever, but um, no, I don't know. That's a personal level kind of thing. Yeah.
I gotcha. Now, earlier you mentioned you did chickens. I believe you also mentioned that you had dogs. Are the dogs pets, or are they more of a function of the homestead?
No pets. Well, I have one dog right now. We're looking for a second. We're looking for a second one. We'd like to have two. We had a Jack Russell Terrier that unfortunately we lost in the fall to a brain tumor.
Hmm.
And so we told ourselves if something ever happens to the dog, it's going to be a year. We'll take a break, no dogs for a year, so we can have a little bit more freedom to do things. But we miss it so much. We tried to get back into it right away, and we did have a dog that we tried to take in, but it was a dog that had been very poorly trained, a very big dog, and just created full havoc on the house and destroyed things everywhere, and that didn't work out. So we talked to the previous owner, and they took their dog back. Now we have a new pup, and maybe she'll show up at some point. Another Jack Russell cross this time, and we're just trying to find another small dog, one that can't reach stuff on the counters.
What I find is that even the small dogs are amazing at figuring out how to get into places they're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah, well, this
a
one, this one's doing that, but it's not pulling appliances off the counters and stuff like that, and jumping on the dining room table. And this other one was crazy. It was a beautiful dog, German short hair pointer, beautiful, beautiful dog, but it was just way too much.
yeah, there's definitely a limit, to how much any individual can handle, especially if they're a bit older, they haven't been trained that well. Yeah, I get it. I get it completely. Um, so I had my wife, before she was my wife, when we first started dating, she had a little, I think it was an apple-headed Chihuahua.
Hmm.
And I don't know how this thing did it, but when we first moved in together, we were living in Georgia in an apartment. But somehow he figured out how to be able to traverse getting the from the floor onto the dining room table, from the dining room table up on top of the counters, and then use the counters to traverse over to where we had like our little like fruit basket. And you would get
Yeah.
in there and just get like bananas and all that stuff, and you just rip into it. You'd just see banana peels everywhere, but no
Yeah.
bananas. It was it was nuts.
Yeah.
Always
I
having to
had a
deal with
be
him.
I had a beagle a while back, and the beagle knew how to move furniture. So it would take a chair, move it from here to there, so that it could climb up on, and extremely crafty and very fat because it used to get into all the food. A funny story about that beagle. We had back then there was a church that we went to that we were organizing a food like a what do you call that, like a potluck kind of thing, but we were in charge of certain more things than what most people would bring, and we had brought a whole bunch of food, putting it on we had it on the dining room table, and this beagle managed to get a chair moved and get on the table and ate like six of those gigantic muffins, the
Yes.
ones that it's not a muffin, it's a cake, like it's a full-size cake kind of thing, and
Yes.
ate all six of those, and you should have seen the belly on this thing. I'm
Oh,
surprised it didn't die. Like, it was just so like it looked like in danger. It was so fat. So,
oh. I had a black lab who passed away maybe about oh god, it's getting close to a year now. And on Christmas a few years ago, he was getting really bad about being able to figure out how to open and unlock our pantry because it's just one of those bifold door like closet style pantries. And what he would do is he would push his nose up against the joint, the middle joint, and he'd just force his way through because they were just flimsy metal at the time. So he'd just be able to like push his way into the cabinet. And one year, it was on Christmas, my wife and I had gone out. We'd locked the pantry because we had one of those little baby gate locks on top of it, just those little snap locks. And he ended up pushing his way through and got a hold of a bag of chocolate, and was one
oh,
of the worst Christmases that I think that either one of us had ever had, in our entire lives. Because not only, did he get really, really sick, we had to take him to the vet and do all that stuff. Thankfully, he was fine. But at the time, we had one of those, because this is before my kids were even born, we had one of those Roombas, one of those little
yeah.
vacuums that would run around the whole, house doing its thing. Well, I don't know if anybody here is aware what happens to a dog when they eat too much chocolate, but basically their whole body just rejects everything at that point.
Munchets
Mhm.
Plays donated
Yeah.
$5 through Super Chat. Much
And
And then the
love to
Roomba.
BDD and
and
Krustoo.
yeah, the
Krustoo,
I see
Roomba
where you're
glad you're
going with
going
this.
back to live streams. Smiley face.
the Roomba got retired after that day. Because needless to say, when we walked into the house, it was only like maybe an hour or two after the whole incident took place. The worst smell in my entire life was in that house, and
That's hilarious.
then the horror of everything was just everywhere. Like it decided that that was the time it needed to clean because it was on a cycle, but for some reason it decided that this was an off cycle day. It didn't go on its normal time. So that's what
Hmm.
really kind of blew both of our minds. It's like I thought it was supposed to start at like 9 in the morning. No, it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was running around doing its thing. So I don't know if maybe he like went over and bumped into it, like stepped on it or something, and then it just kind of set it off its on its way. Oh, but it was so awful. It was one of the worst experiences, not just from, the pet owner aspect, from just a homeowner aspect as well.
Yeah. Yeah, our little puppy, our new puppy, knows how to turn on the Roomba. Yeah.
And then wants to
So,
chase it around.
yep. It's like a friend. It's like its friend, you know.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing in how dogs, or just pets in general, how they can figure out ways to entertain themselves.
hmm That's
So,
one of the reasons we want to get another pup. Is they need to entertain themselves because we're not keeping up.
well, and it's funny in how the dynamic changes when you have a dog with another dog, especially one that's around their same age, because they'll sit there and like play with each other and keep each other entertained and, healthy and, fit kind of thing. Um, yeah, it's number one. Pets are incredible. Dogs, in my book, are like one of the best things in the world out there, and
I
we
agree.
certainly don't deserve the greatness that they are. Anyways, so who would you consider to be one of your favorite creators outside of Farm Sim?
Outside of Farm Sim, oh, um, I watch a guy. He does some Farm Sim, but he does a lot of other stuff as well. A guy called Brad M73. And he covers a lot of mostly simulation stuff, but he's actually the guy that got me into Farm Sim to start with. He did, one series on FS19 that was Farm Sim, but he covers a lot of different stuff. I love his style, his laid back. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few out there, but I think that's the one that stands out the most to me.
Okay, and then if you could meet any three people, whether current or history, who would they be and why?
Oh boy. If I could meet any three people, I'm introverted. I don't want to meet people.
There's not
um,
any Habs players you'd like to meet, or
I met, well, I met a lot of them, especially the older generation. I think I would love to meet John Beliveau. I've never met him. Habs legend. From a sports perspective, I think he would be it. Aside from that, I mean, you can pull out all of the. I'd love to meet Gandhi. I'd love to meet Mother Teresa. I'd love to meet, those type of people. I don't really care so much for. Well, I don't want to say I don't care for them, but people that are like actors or uh, politicians or anything like that is no, I'm not interested. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answered the question, but it's best I can come up with now, I think.
no? I think that's a pretty fair response. Now, that is going to be the end of our first segment there. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the chat here real quick and see what kind of questions we have. Now, I did see a few super chats and whatnot, so let's go ahead and go through those first here really quickly. We got, let's see. We got Dale Rogers just became a tier 1 member. Dale, thank you so much. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. And we got Munchies Plays with a $5 super chat. Says, much love to BDD and Krustoo. Krustoo, glad you're going back to live streams. Let's
Yeah,
see.
I'm gonna do that.
Uh, And we've got Rail Fanning Jonah
Well,
just coming
Fanning
in with
Jonah has
another
the full
chat
minute.
for
Only
11
11
months.
feels like a lot longer.
He says only
Nice.
11 months feels a lot longer. Well, thank you, Jonah, for being an 11-month member. Greatly, greatly appreciate you. Now, let's take a look and see if we can find us some questions. Now, I know I received a message earlier from Dust Bunny. Again, such an absolute rock star she is. She had posted that one question here from Ken Adlam. Ken, thank you so much for your question. Says, what's Krustoo's favorite map and mods from FS22 and 25, and why?
Oh boy. Maps. FS22. I am a big fan of on FS22. Oh boy, hang on a second. I was about to give you an FS19 map. Oh, geez. 22. I mean, I have a thing with Comlands. I love Comlands. It's not a super sophisticated map, you know. It's pretty. There's not a lot of detail work in there, but I just love the lay of that land. So that's a for sure for 22. I'm a big fan of sandbox maps. That's kind of my thing. No Man's Land. You know, a lot of people like that. If I had to pick something that is not, you know, one of the maps that I absolutely loved but had bugs, so I couldn't play it properly, was a map called Dredge Creek that came out on FS22, and I think it was Alaska based.
Yes.
And the ground textures and the just the way it looked to me was absolutely fantastic, and I was so excited. I started a series on it, but time after time I kept getting bugs, a lot of ground collision problems, and then I had game saves that crashed while saving, and we all know what happens when that happens. It frustrated me, but I love the map, though. I would love for it to come back and properly. After that, I liked Alma. Alma was a nice map. Any sandbox map. Love it. Love it. 25 so far. I want to say I'm not that impressed. Riverbend Springs is kind of nice. That's a nice. But I haven't really been super inspired with the rest of what's come out on 25 yet. I'm still waiting. To be really, you know, knocked out of my seat with a decent map, which has been, I want to say it's been a bit of a problem as far as picking series to do. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I'm doing them. I'm enjoying them. I'm actually really liking Zelonka. I hated it in 22. I didn't like that map at all in 22. For some reason, I love it in 25. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's just a different approach that I'm taking. It really hasn't changed that much as a map. Well, yeah. I mean, there's lots of really great stuff in 22. I can't wait for 25 to get there as well, you know.
Oh, yeah, and all it's going to take is time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Artemis, thank you so much for your question. We already did answer it. He asked, what instrument did you play? Let's see. We also got Per Olaf Adolfsson. Ooh, I apologize if I mispronounced that. Says, have you read any of Tom Clancy's?
I want to say yes. I don't actually remember that much. If I did, it was a long time ago. Probably in the time of Rainbow Six. But no, I don't really remember that much. It wasn't really my genre. Most of what I read was fantasy stuff.
Gotcha.
A lot of the Dungeons and Dragons based stuff, Forgotten Realms series, Dragonlance series, a lot of the fantasy kind of thing.
Which Lord of the Rings, I mean, that would definitely add up for that kind of a genre as well.
Yep.
So Taco Dig Groot, Taco, thank you so much for sending in your question. Says Krustoo, and you know what? Before I ask this question, this is absolutely earth shattering a question. This is groundbreaking. I hope you brace yourself for this one.
Uh-oh.
Okay, it says Krustoo, where's your beard?
I dropped it, fell off. I don't. I actually normally sport a beard, a big white beard. I'm a Santa Claus. Recently, I decided to cut it, and just every now and then I do that. I actually usually shave my head as well. I don't know why. It's just a thing I get into. But no, this is rare. This is me 20 years ago. I used to do this and shave every morning before work, before the commute, and after I started working from home, I just let it all hang out. I wish I could put a picture up, but I have a monster white beard, and it grows pretty fast. Like, you see me now, ask me for a chat again in about 2 months or 3 months, and you'll see me with a full beard.
So, because we didn't answer Artemis's question, or at least we answered it for him before he was able to ask it out loud, more of a statement than a question, but he says, I got a Les Paul, great guitar.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We got another batch of questions. We got one from Rolf Coughlin, I think. The passion of playing the game shows through in your recordings. So that's not a question, but just more statement. Thank you, Ralph. Greatly appreciate that. Let's see. Another one says, another comment says from Munchie's Plays, says, Krustoo is one of the reasons I even started content creating. Thanks for the addiction, LOL.
You should see, I don't know if you've seen the video he did on his channel with the music, and he did like I want to call it a text music video kind of thing. And it's a farm sim tune. It's worth checking out on his channel if you guys get a chance.
Oh, I'll definitely check that out. Let's see. And then Dust Bunny says, Mr. Krustoo, there's nothing wrong with your videos. They are awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed doing them, so thank you.
And then last one we got here from Taco de Groot says, Krustoo, we love the mayhem and chaos. We love the struggle and comedy. Don't change your videos.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I've actually had, a few comments recently, but the way that I do my videos, I should do a little bit more research when I pick equipment and stuff like that. And I get that. I totally get it. But at the same time, I love the trial and error and trying to figure stuff out that I don't understand. And usually sometimes that ends up being comical, and sometimes it works, but I don't know, just it's fun to do it that way. So that's kind of how I don't want to change that too much. I don't want to be a perfect farmer.
Well, and leaving those imperfections in videos and stuff lets people know, like, you're not perfect and that you're approachable, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, people who will create their content and it's like, okay, I've got to edit this mistake out. I got to make this, like, it makes it to where it's, what's the word? I guess, for lack of a better word, unrelatable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's like, I don't do weird stuff on purpose, but I try stuff. I try all kinds of different things, stuff that shouldn't work. Well, let's see if I can make it work, and I don't know, it just feels like, to me, like, okay, well, you're either going to walk away with whoever's watching it is either going to walk away with oh, cool, you can do that, or oh, cool, I should definitely not do that. And have a takeaway one way or the other. And if there's a laugh that goes with it, then that's all great, you know. Most of the time, I'm having a lot of fun, you know. There's been a few times in the past where there have been edits because there are words that come out of my mouth that should not be on video. I occasionally get an episode where nothing seems to go right, and I'm so frustrated at the end of it that I just want to trash it. But most of the time it's a lot of fun. I just let it all hang out and see what happens, right?
Well, and at the end of the day, as long as you're enjoying yourself, then obviously it sounds like you got a bunch of people here enjoying themselves as well. So, you're doing something right.
Yeah, I hope so. Yes. Thank you.
So that, I believe, is the end of the questions. I didn't see any more in the chat there. So again, thank you all so much. And if you have any more questions, throughout the rest of this interview, go ahead and type them in the chat. Just make sure that you put the double question marks in there. It just makes it easier for me to search. Let's go ahead and move on to our next section. This is the meat and potatoes, emphasis on potatoes. This is the getting to know you portion for you as a creator. So first question I have, and I think this is by far the most important question I've asked the entire night. I don't think there's ever going to be any more important question that could ever be asked to one person. What's the story behind your name?
All right. So I used to be a big Blizzard fanboy. I played all the Blizzard games, and that was my thing for a long time. And when World of Warcraft first came up, when Blizzard first came up with the whole concept of battle tags, I managed to get Krusty because I was a big fan of Krusty the Clown on The Simpsons, right? So I managed to snag Krusty right away, which is surprising because, sometimes it's hard to get those types of names right away. And then I was totally into World of Warcraft for a while, like hardcore. And I wanted to try two boxing, running two separate accounts at the same time, two characters at the same time, and I needed a second account name. So I had Krusty, and I thought, well, Krustoo for number 2, right? So I didn't want to spell it TWO because then people would be reading it as Krustwo, kind of thing. So I put it Krustoo. That became my second Blizzard account. And then when I started the channel, I was just like, I don't know what to name the channel. I just pulled this out. I really didn't realize that I would get into it this much. I thought it was going to be, I'm going to do 7 videos and that's going to be the end of it. So I didn't give it too much thought, but all of a sudden, the channel started growing, and now I'm like, oh, I can't change the name. But then after a little while, it kind of stuck. I kind of liked it, and it's actually been a problem because I really want to. I've been thinking about rebranding a little bit to more of a farming kind of name. So I've been trying to play with Krustoo Farms, Krustoo Farmer Krustoo, or something like that to try to keep the name, but I'm struggling with it creatively to come up with a solution for that. I might just leave it as it is. I don't know. I keep talking that I'm going to do it, but I never really make up my mind.
Well, it sounds like that if you're kind of, humming and hawing about it, it's just, maybe best to kind of wait and see if something like really kind of pops to you, or if nothing's forcing that hand. You know what I mean?
No, things are going well. Like, I'm really happy with the channel and how things are going. So there's no urgency of any kind. I certainly don't want to disrupt the channel by changing the name, and all of a sudden nobody knows who the heck I am, and everybody unsubs.
Well,
so
you and I have followed each other for quite some time. You were one
Hmm.
of the earlier follows that I had received on my channel,
Yeah.
and for the longest time, when I saw your name pop up, I'm like Krustoo, and it's like it was always just kind of a kind of in the back of my head. It's like I wonder what that's supposed to be about. And then I would see like your channel logo and all that stuff. It's like, okay, well, nothing's adding up quite yet, because you know how you get some
Yeah.
of those names that might seem a little off the wall, but then like an image on their channel page kind of reels it back in, or one of those kind of things. Like I could never piece it together, but now I finally have the answer that I've been searching for so long. So thank you
Hmm.
for letting me know that. So
Yeah. It's really, um, as the channel started to grow, because I kind of set things up as Krustoo Gaming. Like I have an email address, Krustoo Gaming at Gmail. I've got, you know, a whole bunch of stuff set up under Krustoo Gaming. And at one point I thought, well, I want to do multiple channels at some point. So maybe I make that kind of the umbrella or parent company, we'll call it, whatever you want to call it, and have, channels under that, which might still be the case, but I don't know. I kind of still like it. So it just, to the point that you were saying is that when people who don't know me see Krustoo, what is that? What is it? What does it mean? If it was Krustoo Farms or Krustoo Farm Sim or, something like that, right away you go, okay, well, that's a farming channel for probably Farm Simulator or whatever. Boom, I'm in. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe one day it'll change. Maybe not. We'll see.
So, how long have you been playing Farming Sim?
I started playing, um, I want to say close to the beginning of FS19. Um, I don't remember exactly when I started, but I played a lot of 19 and a lot of, from that point on, I guess.
So, what was, because you previously stated that some of your favorite styles of maps are kind of the sandbox, kind of build it yourself, like a No Man's Land, for example. Calm Lands is another one you gave. What was your favorite from FS19? She gave us 22 and kind of 20, 25.
Um, FS19, I was really in love with a map called La Pinky, which just showed up on 25. A little bit different, but for the most part, I loved. I've had a fascination with Polish maps for some reason. I don't know why. I've always liked Polish maps, and that probably would have been a good answer for 22 as well, as a Wake as Nazina map, which was a Polish map. I love that map. I played it on 19 extensively. When it came out on 22, I did a series on it. And I don't know what it is. I think it's has to do with field sizes. I do like small field. I like small field when I'm playing a map that is like a predetermined map, a developed map with city and all of that kind of stuff. I want small fields. Well, when I'm playing sandbox map, I tend to create big fields, as an end result. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of two ends of the spectrum there, but yeah, Mazo was a big one on 19. Lapinki, another Polish map. I don't know what it is, just the way the street signs and the houses look and all that. I don't know.
And when did you start your channel in comparison to the Farm Sim? Were you still into 19, or were you in 22 by that time?
I tried to start a channel in 19. I tried a series called On Ravenport, called The Organic Farmer. I wanted to develop a farm that used only organic means and measures to produce things, so no solid fertilizers, but manure is okay, all of that kind of thing. But my expertise with recording and all that was terrible, and I just got really frustrated and dropped it. And then I left it alone for a while. I really started the channel, I want to say about halfway through the life of 22. So I made a few attempts along the way. I really kind of wanted to start a channel. I just didn't know how. I just didn't have the skills. It's only about halfway through, I want to say 22, that I really jumped in and started. And I started really slow. I was doing one episode every 2 weeks or so. I had under 10 subscribers for a long time. Then all of a sudden I started getting better at editing because I was trying to figure out how to do it faster so that I could do more. And I had short episodes, but it just really took off at some point. I dialed in my production, how I do it, enough that I could start to really dig in and take off from there.
It's funny how it seems like again a very overarching kind of thing that I've been hearing while doing this show. A lot of people will sit there and say, and I most definitely include myself in this. When I first started my channel, it wasn't great. It was this, that, and the other. I always say that my channel, like my content, started out very, very bad, very terrible. I was recording from a potato apparently, and it was one of those just everything about it was just terrible quality. But we all got to start somewhere, and it's one of those where you eventually get into that rhythm. And it sounds like that's kind of what you found yourself in, is that you eventually got into that groove, that rhythm that you were comfortable with and were able to then produce your style. Is that kind of on the mark there? Or?
Yeah, found my comfort zone and now I'm just into it. I had to take a break. Sorry. I had to take a break in the fall for a couple of months where I barely did anything just this past fall due to some health issues and stuff. But I'm back into it now.
So what would you say is one of your best memories from content creation? Whether it was like a experience with a viewer or something that you did for the channel, like what's one of the most memorable moments that you've had?
I want to say probably when I started doing some collaboration stuff with Rusty Money Gaming. We started, I guess I found somebody that, like, we chatted a lot off, like on Discord about ideas. And I remember that, it's getting back to that inspiration question from a while back. It was inspiring to talk to somebody. I'd been doing everything on my own, like just trying to figure stuff out and get ideas all by myself. And then all of a sudden, Rusty subscribed to my channel quite a while before we started chatting, and vice versa. And all of a sudden, for some reason, we just started talking. So I think that's a bit of a something that stands out. And running into Dust Bunny. Yeah.
Yes, again, big shout out to Dust Bunny. She has been an absolute rock star throughout all this. So what was one thing that has happened that you never expected to happen for your channel, whether it was the sense of community, any unexpected backlash. Has there been any kind of event that really kind of stood out to you that you really never expected to happen?
I think, I mean, I really didn't think my channel was gonna take off at all. You know, I thought I would be stuck in under 100 subs for a long, 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 long time. I never thought I would, you know, start thinking about it seriously. It was just for fun. I expected, you know, something that I did expect that didn't happen. Was I expected to get some negativity, you know, about my content. Maybe it's just my lack of self-confidence or whatever, but I expected, you know, that I would get a lot of sass and you know, negative comments and stuff like that on videos. And I really have had very little of that. There's been a tiny bit, but the community has been absolutely fantastic. And that's something that, you know, I guess it's all coming out now. That inspires me. It's such a nice community. The whole farm sim community is so nice. So I love it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, couldn't agree with you there more. So, would you consider Farm Sim to be your favorite game? And if not, what would you consider your favorite game?
I want to say, you know, I'm a guy that loves change, right? So I have I don't tie myself to one thing except the Habs for life. But that said, Farm Sim is the game that I have been the most directly engaged with consistently for a long period of time. And like I've gone through phases of all kinds of other games. I mentioned I was a big World of Warcraft guy, but I would play World of Warcraft for 6 months hard, and then I'd go do something else for a while. Well, that hasn't happened with Farm Sim. You know, ever since I've gotten into it, it's always there. It's now a staple, you know, part of my gaming. And I still dabble with other things, but I never stop playing Farm Sim, you know. So yeah, my favorite right now. Yeah, for sure. Tomorrow, who knows? But today, so far, absolutely.
So, one other kind of running theme that I've been hearing a lot here lately is the fact that, especially with people who have like a full-time job, like yourself, like me, that part of the love of this game is, and this is very true with a lot of games, but it seems like this one in particular is the kind of escape that it creates, the almost calming nature to the game itself,
Yep.
that really kind of lends to its longevity for most people. Again, I personally attest to this myself. You know, I've got, you know, the 2 kids, the wife, full-time job. So, you know, very, very busy all throughout the day kind of thing. And when everybody, you know, goes to bed and all this stuff, this is what I use to kind of, you know, kick back, relax, and
Ralph
kind of
Fanning
wind
Jonah
down.
donated $1.99
Would you
through
would you
Super
consider
Chat.
that kind of the
If you
same
can
kind
only
of
have
thing for
one
you?
mod, what would it be?
Yeah, yeah, and some, you know, the thing I really like about Farm Sim is it exercises creativity, but it also feeds that. I want to call it. It kind of feeds my OCD, where things have to be taken care of in an order, kind of thing. You know, tending to your fields and whatever. You know, I love seeing, okay, now I got to plow it. Now I got to do this. Now I got to do this, you know, and I tend to have those needs to do that kind of thing. You know, what I do on camera, because I'm always conscious of nobody wants to watch me bail for an hour. You know, But when I'm off camera, in between, episodes, because I do a fair amount of stuff in between episodes on a game save, I will sit there and cut down like hundreds of trees. Like I'll just sit there and cut another tree, cut another tree, cut another. Like I don't do that on camera because to me is a way to lose subscribers real quick. But I can do that. I get into that mindset sometimes. Well, I'll just sit there and like plow a big field. It's soothing to me. It's very I don't know, satisfying, for lack of a better term. And the sandbox stuff, because I love the sandbox maps. I say it over and over again, but the creative side of what can I do? I want it to end up looking like this kind of thing. So let's go. Let's get to work and start doing that. Be really creative. So, yeah.
So it sounds like it really gets to unlock the multiple avenues for you personally. It allows that kind of creativity to flow, and you get to kind of do something that you may not get to do in your kind of everyday. But then at the same time, you get to kind of have that structure of the procedure. Like you were saying before, the whole, plowing leads to cultivating, leads to, seeding, leads to fertilizing, leads to, like check kind of thing. So it's almost that kind of harmony between those two realms. Does that kind of sound about right to you?
Yeah, and now would probably be a really good time to show my T-shirt. So I'm going to do that. There we go.
I love it. Let's see. So you had mentioned earlier how you start out your mornings by playing, and then you got to go off to work, and then you get to come back to it there in the afternoons. How much of your day would you say is playing or creating farm sim content?
I want to say probably about an hour and a half. An hour and a half. I mean, certainly some days none, some days more. But typically I'll put in, my process, the way that I do episodes for Farm Sim is I'll record an hour. I watch my timer. I'll record an hour, and then I'll spend like, I don't know, 15 minutes editing. And then, I got to create a thumbnail, and I got to do the upload and all of that kind of stuff. That's it. That's my daily kind of routine generally. Sometimes I'm super busy and I can't. Sometimes for 2 days or 3 days in a row, I can't because I've got other stuff going on. So I'll cram on the weekends. But that's about, average per day that I can dedicate. I don't have much more time to do that. Late at night, I'll do all that off-camera stuff. I'm brain dead. I'm just going to sit here and cut trees for a while. But I've tried to do. I've dabbled with live streaming, so we're going to actually get back to that soon on Monday nights. But I tried to do it on the weekends, and I've got other stuff going on. It's been difficult. So yeah, that's about it.
Well, yeah, and based on what you've told us here tonight, you've got the full-time job, you got the homestead, going on. I mean, just owning a home, just in general, there's so many different things that can come up to kind of fill your day, fill your weekend, kind of thing. That you saying that an hour and a half is about the most you get to spend per day. That doesn't shock me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've kind of gone over some of your favorites maps for FS 19, 22, and 25. What would you say is your least favorite for all three?
Um, for 25, I'm probably going to get some hate for this one. For 25, now it's been renamed Oak Ridge Farm now.
Mm-hmm.
Comston. It was Comston before. I never liked that farm, that map for some reason, and I didn't like it on 22. I didn't like it on. I don't like it on 25. I think there's some excellent work that was done with the look and feel, particularly the buildings and things like that. But as farmlands, it's just not my thing. I don't know why. For 22, I hated Erlingrat by far. It's I don't get that map at all. I didn't like it. Yeah, there's probably a couple of others. I mean, Dredge Creek pulled my hair out with that one. I loved it and hated it on 22. Yeah. Can't really think of others right now, but
So if there was a map that you could pick throughout 1922, what map would it be to bring guaranteed to 25?
I want to say probably Mesoweek and Azina. I have a love affair with that map for some reason. Well, I'd love to see it.
If that's the map that I'm thinking of, I can't remember the person who made it, but I'm pretty sure I know which map it is, and it's a beautiful map.
Yeah, it's a big. Well, it's not a big map. Probably call it a medium-sized map. It's got a lot of small fields. A lot of small fields, like 100, 160, 180 small fields. And the way the road system works is if it makes it seem like a very large map because it's hard to get from A to B directly. Everything is almost indirect. So I find that was done very creatively to make it feel like a really big map. And lots of buildings, a nice little town center, some little village centers, and I don't know. I really like that one. Hope to see it again.
For some reason, the name like Rajo G Play keeps coming into my mind, and I don't think that was the map maker, but anyways, so before FS25 released, what feature were you the most excited over?
Announced feature. I would say I was excited about the weather. The weather changes. I was that and the ground deformation. Those were two things that I was really excited to see. I did, how I feel about it. I don't think it went as far as I would have liked it to go. I think there are big steps forward, but I think there's a lot of room still to improve those two kind of features. Yeah, for the most part, I think those are the big ones.
And what feature for 25 were you excited about initially, but then soured on very quickly?
I want to say the AI system. Absolutely love the GPS guidance part of it. I don't like the default AI workers. I really miss the ones from 22 and 19 where you point a guy down the field and he just goes and comes back and goes and comes back. You can't get that anymore. That's gone. You can't even force the new AI to go up and down a field. They have to do certain headlands. and it drives me nuts. I really miss that. I was a big course play guy in 22 and 19. I used course play a lot, but I loved having both course play to do all the fancy stuff, but then certain times I wanted that guy to just go up and down the field, so I often mixed them and alternate. I can't do that anymore in 25. It drives me nuts. So that's a disappointment to me.
Gotcha. And what would you say is your most preferred style of farming? Do you prefer to do arable, forestry, grass care?
I think I want to say probably arable. But it's funny I say that because that's kind of the one I do the least of, which makes no sense whatsoever. But the concept that I really enjoy is development, developing a farm, and often the path to developing a farm is first removing the trees and doing all of that kind of thing before I get to arable. It's easy to plop down a pig pen, but now you got to get by all the fields and do that, and it tends to always go last for me for some reason. But I do love field care, just general field care. I have a obsession with plowing for some reason. I love plowing fields. I don't know why.
And would you consider that to be your most favorite job, is plowing?
Probably, yeah.
And what would you consider to be your least favorite?
Stacking bales.
Do you find yourself, well, let me revert back to this really quick. Do you consider yourself to be a more realistic farmer, a kind of more simulation, or a kind of, wild, wild west kind of farmer?
Probably, I'm probably more wild, wild west.
Okay.
Realism is, it's not my thing. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. And I really wish I could get into, the whole pure role play kind of mentality. But for some reason, I have a hard time staying engaged with that. Sometimes I just want to get stuff done. I don't care if it's realistic or not. I want to do all this so I can get to this part, so I'll fast track. I'll do, whatever. Yeah. I use workers, like AI workers, a lot. I don't do a lot of manual stuff. There are times when I'm not doing anything, just watching the AI workers do their thing. I do love the management perspective more probably than the actual hands-on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you tend to work on contracts a lot, or do you try to avoid them?
I do them out of necessity. I do them to generate money. Typically, once I get to a point where I can be busy on my farm all the time, I don't do it anymore.
Okay.
So usually early game,
Yes. So kind of previous, or similar to the previous question where we were talking about the most and least favorite jobs to do, what's your most and least favorite contracts?
In 25, because they've changed quite a bit in 25.
Yeah, let's go with 25.
I would say I guess that the difference is, am I using my own equipment or am I using the borrowed equipment? And if the answer is borrowed equipment, and it's definitely plowing, I absolutely don't like the mobile plow style.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm using my own stuff, then it doesn't matter so much. I typically use symmetrical kind of plow setups. Same thing, with anything else. I try to stay symmetrical. Even like I don't like mowers that go to one side.
Yes.
I want that. I want to be in the middle all the time. So, yeah, I don't like the deadwood stuff. I like the loading logs. Like, here's the thing, like I like loading pallets. I like loading logs. I like loading bales up until I've done 10 of them. Now I don't want to do anymore, so I will typically start out doing a lot of the manual kind of tedious, or not tedious, but detail kind of work. But then get fed up at some point. Now I just want to auto load and, that kind of thing.
I gotcha. So, as a creator, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start in content creation?
I think, there's two really important things that I think somebody should focus on. One is to be themselves, right? At the end of the day, here's a game. It doesn't matter what genre or which game you're doing content with. Here's a game, and it can look exactly the same to anybody. What brings the special out in a channel is the personality, I find. So the person talking is what, you might get, X number of people that follow you for what you're technically doing on the screen. But for the most part, is they build a relationship with what you bring as a creator, whether it's through your personality, or your flair, or the way that you might approach certain things. And the only way to be good at that is to be yourself. If you're trying to pretend to be somebody else, if I'm trying to pretend to be a Mr. Sealy P or a Daggerwin, it's not going to work. I'm just not that guy. So I think that's one of the most important things, is to be yourself and enjoy what you're doing. Do it your own way. Always look for improvements, but don't try to be somebody else. And the other one is to get connected in the community. I'll get on the Discords, do all those things to get connected with people, because you learn so much from other people. And it, can get back to the whole inspiration side of things. Things picked up for me a lot when I started connecting with people, with other content creators. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of feed off of what you were saying, plus tack on to what we said earlier, the community being such a great place to be in, you'll find so many people who are willing to not only just kind of help out just in a general sense, but be willing to kind of offer advice or offer guidance in so many different aspects. It's really an incredible community, and one of the best I've ever been a part of.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
So we've discussed some of your favorite mods and maps. I'm sorry, we
Ronnie
discussed some of your favorite
Johansson has
maps.
become a member.
What would you consider is some of your favorite mods? Let's go ahead and start with like pre-25, because we really don't have that much going on right now.
Well, I'm a PC guy, right? So this is probably my favorite mods will not apply to console players because they're not available. But I use Power Tools. Power Tools is like, I gotta have it. I use it for a lot of stuff, a lot of, I want to call it content creation stuff. I use it to fix problems where a bug comes up, and I lose money because of a bug, or equipment does something absolutely strange that messes things up, so I can fix it back. If I buy something that doesn't work because of a bug, then I fix the money, right? I reverse it, then I fix the money. I use it for screenshots. There's a bunch of different things I would use it for. Flight mode, all that. So I heavily depend on power tools.
Is that the same as the Easy Dev, or what I hear is Easy Dev?
Easy Dev is very powerful, and it's much more complicated than Power Tools. It does probably everything that Power Tools does, but for me, way too much. Power Tools is super simple. It's very simplistic. It's only got a few options, and they're easy to access. Easy Dev has like screen after screen after screen of stuff that you can do, and I just don't need it. It's great. Easy Dev is fantastic, but I don't need it. So I'm a simple guy. I like simple things.
Makes sense. And who would you consider being some of your favorite modders and map makers?
Oh boy. No, I don't see him in chat there, but Gaming Joy is a guy whose stuff I pay attention to. Not just the mods that he does, but I like watching his channel as he's showing what he's working on. On his videos. I find it really interesting. It's kind of you get the info behind the mod. A lot of the other modders, you just shows up on Mod Hub and you try it, and you don't really know, the story behind the mod. So I do like him for that. As far as the map makers, Alien Jim, obviously, Shaba, which I haven't seen any sign of in 22 and 25 yet. So I hope he's still around. And I do like some of Omatana's stuff. I find some of her stuff is a little on the unreal side, like a little too much. But I do love the energy that she brings to all the stuff that she does. She does a lot. She has a high volume output. So yeah. There's lots out there, but some of them I don't remember offhand by name. But
yeah, and every one of those that you named, they're greats in their own rights. So the last question I have for this section is, if you had the ability to make a map that was based on real life, where would you base that map off and why?
Well, being a Canadian boy, I'd love to see something from Ontario. There really hasn't been anything that I've seen in any version of FS 19, 22, 25 that is from Ontario in Canada. So I'd love to see something. There's lots of good Canadian maps they're more like the big field maps, like the monster kind of stuff out in Saskatchewan, and there's some fantastic stuff coming out of there. And there's been a few others, small ones, but something local, not too far from where I am, would probably be really nice. Just for the sake of having it.
All right, perfect. So that is the end of that section there. So before we go into our last one, let's go ahead and check out the chat here just real quick and make sure that we got everybody's questions here answered. Let's see. So starting out with... Okay, from Rail Fanning Jonah. Rail Fanning Jonah, thank you so very much for sending this in. Says, if you can only have one mod, what would it be?
Well, I think I'll go back to the power tools. It's such a tough question. There's so many good ones. I'm a big courseplay guy. I haven't been impressed with it in 25 yet. I'm waiting for it to become a little bit more defined. But 22, it was bread and butter for me. So one of those two, I would say.
Okay. And then Scott McClish sent in, thank you, Scott, greatly appreciate it, says, what would you change about seasons in FS to make it more desirable?
How much time we got? um, Seasons. I want to go back to FS19 on this because I think FS19 had the best implementation of seasons, and it wasn't, part of the base game in any way, shape, or form. But I really missed that, primarily for the feature, the geos, the ability to select where in the world, what weather system do you want from anywhere in the world. So you could take, I want to say, I don't know, arbitrary California farm map, but let it have the Quebec, northern Quebec weather system where you have much shorter seasons and less light and, that kind of thing. It allowed you to be creative with your environments, especially when it came down to like sandbox maps. That most sandbox maps they're not anywhere. They're not attached to any part of the world. They're totally fictional. But then you could customize it that way. So I think that would be a big step, forward. But also a little side thing I'd like to see is right now the season system. If you turn it on, right, it forces you on a calendar, which you would think, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. But if I want to screw up and plant my potatoes in October, that's my problem. Let me deal with that problem, right? So I think it's too restrictive. I find it too restrict. I don't like it. I didn't like it in 22. I don't like it in 25. I want to like it. I often try to like it, and I eventually get fed up and turn it off. Mainly because it takes so long to get certain things done. I want to take the risk. This should take 5 months. I would like to see what happens. I would like to have weather involved in it, right? So if you have a dry summer, it could impact your yields. So I know that June is going to be very hot. So I'm going to take a risk and start planting in July. You know what I mean? Like giving you that freedom to toy with and make the mistakes. Otherwise, I usually try to just turn it off.
I gotcha. And to kind of piggyback off of that, there was a ton of features on the FS19 version of Seasons that were very similar to what you're talking about. Like the crop failure was a thing for Seasons. That was one thing that I absolutely loved that. The 3 stages of making hay, that was something else that was available from Seasons. Yeah, there was tons of stuff. So I completely understand what you're saying there. I think we could have a whole 2-hour stream just to discuss why the 19 version was better.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. And what surprised me was that it wasn't ported to 22, right? Yes. We got like a baby version of it in 22 base game, but I'm sure you could still mod a more sophisticated version in, but it never showed up. So I don't expect it'll show up in 25 either, but I would hope that Giants spends a little bit more time on that.
For sure. I was disappointed that it never came to 22. And yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you about it being available for 25. So next question, and as I hit my microphone, came from Taco de Groot. Taco says, Krustoo, can I guess your real name?
Can you guess it? You can guess all you want.
Uh, next one comes from.
Do you want me to answer it?
Well, you don't have to. No.
Oh no, my first name is Dan. We'll leave it at that.
There we go. So no guessing necessary there, Taco. Uh, Benji, thank you so much, Benji. Greatly appreciate your question. Says, have you played Diablo?
Oh boy, yeah, I played a lot of Diablo. Fun fact. Here comes a fun fact. My real name is actually in the credits of Diablo 2 original game.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you
Yeah,
like one of
that-
their beta testers, or?
Yeah, they had a group when they beta tested Diablo 2. And I keep saying the base game because as soon as they added the expansion for Lords of Destruction, they changed the credits in the game, and now it was no longer there. So if you installed the original D2 without the expansion, there was a group back then. It was kind of trippy in a way. They pick 1,000 people across North America to be beta tester for it. And I remember that they said, we're going to send you a CD because, back then, 98, I think it was. Yeah, 98. That's how you got games back then, right? So they had I think it was UPS or Purelator. They're coming today with your CD. And I was so pumped. So yes, I played a ton of Diablo 2, Diablo 3, a little bit less of Diablo 4. Not as impressed, but yeah, I a lot of hours.
Yeah, Diablo is a great game, and I started playing Diablo 1 personally. I just couldn't get into it for some reason. I think it was just timing kind of thing. Diablo 2 was just a masterpiece in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah, just I had a ton of time on that one as well.
yeah.
Let's see. Dust Bunny has a question. Again, Dust Bunny, thank you so very much for sending this. It says, what time will your live streams be on Monday nights?
We'll probably go back to 7 p.m. Eastern. 7 p.m. Eastern to about 9 p.m. Eastern, a couple hours.
And then one more question from Dust Bunny says, would you like to see precision farming come to FS25?
Yes, and it is coming, right?
Correct. In Q2.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a huge. I want to say I'm not a huge fan of precision farming. Meaning, I played it. So it's I appreciate it. I know what it is, and I appreciate it. I typically don't use it, but I think it's an important part. I think there's a lot of people that love it, and I think it definitely should come.
Gotcha. And one thing that I need to catch up on real quick are the super chats and memberships. So we got, let's see, Rail Fanning Jonah for $1.99. Jonah, thank you so very much. Says, if you can only have one, or no, I read that one already. But again, thank you for the $1.99. We've got Jonah also gifted one membership. Thank you so much. And Ronnie Johnson just became a tier 1 member. Thank you, Ronnie, so very, very much. Taking a look through just real quick to see if we have any more questions. Mark Patterson, thank you, Mark, for your question. I greatly appreciate it. It says, have you ever played Loma, Montana?
No, I have not. I typically stick to Mod Hub. So if it hasn't come to Mod Hub, I probably haven't touched it.
Gotcha. And I think I got a couple more questions here. We got Will T Gaming. Will, thank you so much for sending this in. Says, Realism Modeling said that they will not bring it back, meaning seasons, which I think is funny because one person from their group works for Giants. Oh, well, that's,
Oh.
oof. That's a bummer.
Mm.
And then he asks, do you like custom modding?
I think I don't know. I guess maybe I would need a definition of what custom modding would be. Um, are we talking about the ability to modify things just for me? Is that what we're talking about?
No, so
Or,
custom
or
modding is an actual modder.
oh, okay. No, well, maybe I sadly don't pay attention to who does what so much. But if it's been on ModHub, there's a good chance I probably looked at it. So I'd have to look it up. To be honest, I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean they were responsible for doing like a lot of John Deere harvester mods. Like they're very high end, detail oriented modders. I'm sure that
Like,
if you were to look at the mod hub and be like, okay, custom modding, and see the list, you'd be like, oh, now I get it. Now I know who exactly who they
yeah,
are.
probably. I know I ran into that situation with Josh, Gaming Joy, where there's a bunch of mods that I use, and I had no idea he was the one that made them because I just wasn't paying attention to who was doing them. So yeah, the answer is probably, but now I'll do the research and find out.
All right, so that is the end of the questions that I have found up until this point. I want to thank everybody so very, very much who sent in their questions and who participated here tonight watching the stream. So now we're going to head into our final segment here. It's called That's a Silage Wrap. So we're going to start closing things out for the evening. So again, I want to thank you so very, very much, Krustoo, for coming on and hanging out with us tonight and doing the interview. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Now, can you remind us where everybody can find you?
Well, find me on YouTube, Krustoo. I do have a Discord, so if you look up my YouTube channel and look at any of my videos, it's in the description of all my videos as to what the invite link is. And I do have a Facebook page as well, but honestly, I think I'm going to can it. I'm just not paying enough attention to it, and I'm really not a big, I'm not out there all over the place on all the social medias or anything. Maybe after I retire. Yeah.
And let's see, do you have any future plans or projects that you're going to be working on?
I have started working on a second channel, which I've dabbled with a little bit in the past, but I have another channel called Frozen Frontier that I will start creating content for. That will be miscellaneous. I won't call it miscellaneous games. I'll be trying all kinds of different stuff. It won't be anything like Farm Sim channel. Farm Sim will be always priority for now, and we'll see what I need. I need another creative outlet that's not always Farm Sim. So I need to do more things. So, beyond that, I've got other stuff going on, but mostly that's the stuff this audience would enjoy.
And then one question I just came across I did miss is from Jake Up. Jake, thank you so much. Says, are you excited for Alma?
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It was really nice in 22, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it looks. It's a realistic. It has a real feel to it. I think to me that's what matters. If it looks like I'm actually there, that inspires me.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is everything that I have here. So again, I want to thank you, Krustoo, so very much for coming on to the show tonight, hanging out with us, and doing this interview. I hope that you enjoyed yourself.
Oh, I did. I did. When are we doing the next one?
I will be doing follow-ups on these
Okay.
interviews. Absolutely. So
We got to
if
talk.
you're interested, then you'll be on the list.
Yeah, we gotta talk about seasons some more.
I'm serious. We'll do a whole 2 hours just dedicated to why 19 seasons better.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Not only for inviting me, but also I think this is absolutely fantastic for the community that you're doing this kind of stuff. Keep going. Let me know if you need any kind of help or anything. I think this is a strong community building thing you're doing, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm having an absolute blast doing this, and definitely plan on keeping it going. And speaking of which, if you have a specific content creator, map maker, modder, anybody, and this is going out to everybody out in the chat, if there's somebody that you want me to do an interview with, let me know in the chat, in my socials, on my Discord, anywhere that you can get a hold of me. Go ahead and let me know, because I would absolutely love to get anybody and everybody on this channel who is related to the farm sim community and be able to continue this series on for the distant future. Because I think that, like Krustoo said, this is, something that is bringing us all together in a new dynamic way. Again, I want to thank everybody who came out here tonight and participated in the chat or just listened along. I had an absolute blast. Yeah, all that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you did, please show me by liking, sharing, subscribing, following, commenting, doing all the things the algorithms enjoy you doing. That shows you're engaged with this channel and enjoying the content. And that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Take care. Krustoo, hang on just 1 second. I'm going to play the outro, and I'll see you on the other side, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.